friends, and welcome to my channel. In this video I wanted to show you the best things to do in Valencia over the weekend. We arrived yesterday, which was Friday. Our flight was severely delayed, but we have the entire Saturday, which is today, and also Sunday to explore this beautiful city. Valencia is the third biggest city in Spain. It's a large cultural center and there are so many things to do. Without further ado, let's get started and explore the city. We visited Valencia at the start of February this year and we're extremely lucky with the weather. It was so warm and so sunny. Actually, during the hottest time of the day, the temperatures exceeded 20 degrees. And during the day, I actually didn't even need a jacket, which was absolutely amazing. We were staying at the heart of the city, 10 minutes walking to the old town at the hotel called NH Collection Colon. We loved the hotel. It was very, very beautiful. And the location was genuinely perfect. We actually didn't expect Valencia to be that warm, because if you look at the map, Valencia is actually closer to Barcelona than it is to Sevilla. We were in Sevilla in January and it was around 15 degrees, although it was unusually cold for that time of the year for Sevilla, because normally it is even warmer. But Valencia had amazing weather and we were able to walk around a lot and enjoy it, although from my understanding it's not always the case. So it's always best to check out the weather before your trip and see how it's going to be. The central market is one of the main attractions of Valencia. It's built in a similar style as the market in Barcelona. If you have been there before, there are plenty of things you can buy. There are also lots of things you can eat there, from my understanding. So let's go and check it out together. The market doesn't usually work on Sundays and it closes pretty early on Saturdays as well, at 3 p.m. That's why we rushed to come here and let's go in so we are actually able to eat something and see something. I think the market is also huge. It's around 80,000 square meters of space, selling space where basically all the stalls are located, and there is so much you can buy. Vivir sin dormir.
That's exactly what I mean. Extra large rabbit. It's a rabbit.
Paella is a national dish of Valencia and people here love their national dish. There's so many places you can eat the paella, and as you can see, already by 2 p.m. it's almost finished in the market. I tried very similar sweets in Sevilla, in the area.
I like that.
So I think it's like a variety from Valencia. Fartón or a pepa?
Huh?
Pepa or a fartón?
What is the pepper? I don't fartón. I never tried fartón.
Have you tried the pepa?
Don't say that. I think we should buy it today.
Originally, we were planning to grab a quick bite and eat something for lunch at the market, but then we decided to actually sit down somewhere and have a paella in a restaurant. So we found a place and started walking there, and on the way we discovered this beautiful and very unique round square at the heart of the old town, and we were surprised by the shops and what they were selling. It turned out they were actually selling lots of stuff for the annual festival of Valencia, Fallas, which is one of the most prominent festivals in the whole country. It happens every year at the beginning of March and there's a lot of fire. It's generally the festival of fire and it's protected by UNESCO heritage. It's really a unique event, and if you have a chance to visit it, I definitely recommend it. And our restaurant was just next to the square. It was called Tasca Hogan. And we tried the traditional, one of the traditional paellas, and it was really, really good. We are continuing sightseeing activities after a really, really nice lunch. We had a massive paella and it was delicious. We actually wanted to try the paella valenciana, but since I did it in intolerance test recently, it seems like I cannot eat, well, anything that contains cow's milk or eggs. And paella valenciana, the original one, actually has milk and eggs in it, so unfortunately couldn't eat it, so had to have the seafood one, mariscos. It's honestly a pleasure to walk around Valencia's old town. It's very pedestrian friendly I'm not sure if the streets are always close to the cars or cars generally just don't come to some of those streets, but even in Sevilla, for example, on those super narrow streets in the heart of the old town, you had to share them with cars, and sometimes you had to stand and let them pass. So it's definitely a really nice thing about Valencia. Valencia is also a very old city. It was founded by Romans, and in the medieval ages it used to be a very rich port. So because of that, you can see lots of opulent, beautiful buildings right in the heart of the city center. But there are also lots of things to do besides exploring the city center, and tomorrow we will go and explore some of those places. But it's only natural because Valencia is actually the third biggest city in Spain after Madrid and Barcelona. It even used to be a capital for 11 months during the civil war in Spain. So of course everyone can find something they like about the city and can find something to do. We returned to the market. This is actually another perspective of the world's biggest market, the one we just visited, but we wanted to try another Valencian specialty.
Okay, this is horchata, typical drink from Valencia, yeah, and farton. You're supposed to eat this with your horchata. You're supposed to dip it inside.
Yeah, it was just $2.50 for both, I think. €2.50, yeah.
And eat it. It's good. It's not like Mexican horchata, but it's like a rice drink. It's like calpis or any of those, but it's good, it's good. Not too sweet, nice.
After a quick break trying Valencia's famous farton and horchata, we went to explore another gem of the city, another UNESCO heritage protected site, the Silk Exchange. The Silk Exchange, or La Lonja de la Seda, was built in the medieval ages in the 15th and 16th centuries, and it's actually a group of buildings that it was used for silk trade, as you can imagine from the name, and it just illustrates the power that Valencia held in those years trading in silk. Of course, you need to buy a ticket to visit the Silk Exchange, but it's really affordable. I think it was something like €3 per person, and it is absolutely worth it. You can totally spend about an hour, maybe an hour and a half in a Silk Exchange, and honestly it also has a very beautiful courtyard outside where you can see lots of trees with oranges. So it's a lovely place to visit, and it's definitely one of the highlights of the city. Another highland we sadly couldn't visit because it was actually closing, but also there was a massive queue because it's one of the most iconic and popular buildings in the whole city, and that's the Valencia Cathedral. So usually cathedrals are, of course, impressive in cities like that, but Valencia Cathedral is special. And it is special because it is actually considered to be the place where the Holy Grail is located. And even Vatican sort of agrees with the fact and that the Holy Grail is located within the Valencia Cathedral. Because of that, you need to pay to enter Valencia Cathedral, and of course there are queues of people just waiting for their turn. This is the cathedral, by the way. It looks very unique. It's kind of a mix of a cathedral and a Colosseum, but yeah, sadly we couldn't visit. But if that's something that interests you, I definitely recommend buying a ticket in advance and visiting it. While it was still a bit warm, so it was possible to walk around the city wearing just cardigans, we walked around the kind of remaining streets of the old town and reached the end of the old town, or the start of the old town, depending on how you look at it. There is this beautiful gate. When you exit the gate, there is not that much to see. The city looks quite modern after that point, but when you turn back and re-enter the old town through the gate, of course you are amazed by how beautiful the architecture of the old town of Valencia is. And as I mentioned multiple times, it's just a pleasure to walk around the old town of Valencia. It's very pedestrian friendly and genuinely really lovely. But for us it was time to go back to the hotel to change.
Just stopped by our hotel to change because it got a little bit colder, so I needed my jacket. But we noticed that most of the streets in the city center, well, in Colon, are closed for cars, so they're pedestrian friendly now. It created massive traffic jams, and because of that, it's so noisy in our hotel. The cars just can't stop honking. So we're trying to find out why. If you know why, please let me know.
Our first destination for the evening was the vibrant neighborhood of Russafa. We decided to walk there. It was just about 30 minutes walking from our hotel, so not too far. We also wanted to see how the city looks like just a little bit outside the city center.
Here in Valencia.
We found a temporary market that is only open on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of February. Pretty sure it opens some other months as well. But they sell traditional Valencian foods. Let's go check it out.
Feels like a Christmas market there.
It's a little bit like a Christmas market. It's very, very busy.
Russafa is a very nice, vibrant and popular neighborhood, and besides the market there are plenty of things to do. It's actually home to plenty of different vintage shops. So actually most of the vintage shops of the city are located in this area. And if you love vintage stuff, you will find some hidden gems. There are some kind of average shops that look like nothing special, to be fair, but there are some shops that are definitely very unique. So if that's your vibe, I definitely recommend visiting. And in the evening, the market becomes a food market. So there are also plenty of places where you can eat. But in our case, again, we just wanted to sit down somewhere, so we went to a place called Taverna, also located in the same neighborhood, and it had great food. It specialized in seafood, so that if that's what you like, I definitely recommend going there.
Another market that is worth visiting in Valencia is Mercado de Colon. So this one is actually open until very late. I think it was around 3 a.m. today, and it's full of different kind of mini restaurants and food booths. There are also shops. The shops I reckon are closed, but all the kind of food stalls are still open. So let's go in and check it out.
Overall, I can't say I was blown away by Mercado de Colon. It feels like you need to book places in advance or queue for a while to get in. We actually wanted to visit a wine bar, so in the end we ended up walking to another one in the city and just having a glass of wine outside on the street.
Good morning. Today is our last day in Valencia, but we still have a lot to see. So first of all, we need to take the tube. We need to take the metro to go to another place. We could walk there potentially, but we have a lot of walking planned today, so we're just gonna save some time and take the tube.
We arrived at the metro station called Alameda, and there was like an outdoor party there with lots of dancing, which was pretty cool.
Our first location for today is the Jardín de Montfort. It's a very beautiful garden in the heart of the city. Lots of beautiful sculptures and even some flowers blooming, which is surprising for the beginning of February.
I also forgot to mention that it's absolutely free to visit, so if you're visiting Valencia on a budget, that is a good place to go. But overall, if you don't have too much time, I can't say it's a must-visit attraction in the city. It's probably not in the top 10. So if you're in this area or you have slightly longer time to spend in the city, that's a good place you can add to your to-do list, but otherwise you can probably skip it. To get to our next location, we decided to take a tram, and to take a tram we needed to walk for about 15 minutes. This is a really residential part of Valencia, zero touristy, but it was interesting to see nonetheless. And it took us around maybe 20 minutes to get to the coast, close to the beach of Valencia.
Took the tram to the beachside area, well, close to the sea. But first thing first, coffee. So we're gonna grab a coffee, then walk around the area a little bit, and then go to the beach.
We found the coffee, it was all right. And then we realized we actually had a unique restaurant bookmarked in the area, and we were afraid it would either get too crowded or it would close. So we headed there next. The restaurant was called Casa Montana, and it's one of the traditional tavernas of Valencia. It's also one of the oldest restaurants in the city, and it's definitely a unique experience. They had so many vermouths, so many snacks, and it's just a perfect place for lunch if you like, of course, places like this.
Este es el crema, este es un café de Valencia típico.
Why are you
Lleva
speaking
ron
Spanish then?
y café.
It's in English.
I forgot. Okay, this is crema. This is a typical Valencian coffee. It has rum, sugar, and coffee, and it's served hot. It's very nice.
After lunch, we finally headed to the beach. The beach in Valencia is absolutely huge. Just look at how wide it is. And of course, because it was beginning of February, it's pretty much empty because, well, it is quite cold, to be fair. It was warm for February, for winter, but you can only imagine how crowded it gets in summer on a weekend when everybody just chills on the beach, or lots of tourists come to Valencia to swim and enjoy the city. But honestly, the beach is absolutely amazing. It's very wide, it's sandy, and it's very, very beautiful. To go to our next location, we actually ended up taking a taxi. It was not the best in terms of connections of public transport, so instead of taking 2 trams, we just decided to take an Uber and pay something like €7. It was very, very cheap.
At last we have arrived at the City of Sciences, which is a really nice example of modern architecture. And just look at this, it looks pretty stunning.
Remember how at the start of the video I was telling that there is something for everyone in Valencia. So for example, if you don't like old architecture and historical buildings, you can head here and you would love it. So this is a prime example of the modern architecture, and honestly there are so many museums and interesting things to do at the City of Sciences. And it's also a beautiful place for photos even if you don't want to go inside, and it's also a very unique place. I haven't seen anything quite like that in the entire world. But if you want to go inside, there are plenty of things to do in the City of Arts and Sciences. For example, the largest aquarium in Europe, there's a massive 3D cinema, there is also an arts museum, there is an open-air garden, there is an expo forum, there's generally so much stuff. There's also, I think, the science museum that you can visit there. And it's also a perfect place to spend a day if you are going to Valencia with kids. In our case, we couldn't unfortunately go to any of those buildings, but it is a reason to come back to Valencia and revisit it. After visiting the City of Arts and Sciences, we decided to walk back to the city center. And on the way back, we made a quick stop at a place, at a cafe, serving hot chocolate and traditional churros. Pepe absolutely loves those things, so he was the one insisting on it, but it was also a really good break after so much walking. But then we decided to walk again, because we still had a couple of hours left before our plane departure back to London. So we kind of revisited the same places we already saw yesterday. The city was definitely way less crowded and most of the shops were already closed. Some of the restaurants were closed too because it was Sunday afternoon and it was slowly getting dark. But we saw the city in a slightly different light as well. We also discovered some of the buildings we haven't seen previously. Or, well, we have seen them but couldn't enjoy them because they were really busy, so now we could finally see them without crowds. Eventually, it was time for us to go back to the hotel, pick our bags, take a bus back to the airport, and take a flight back to London. As I mentioned before, we were in Valencia in February, so before the catastrophe, so the atmosphere of the city was way more cheerful than it probably is now. But I think it's still an amazing city to visit. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and see you in the next video. Bye!